Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Arcantu here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so happy to have some time with you today. We are so excited because the fall always brings one of the best times of the year, and that is Teaneck International Film Festival time. We are in the month of the excitement and the film festival that really is part of the heart of Bergen County and really nationally. So we're so excited to talk to you about this wonderful event that the YWCA of Northern New Jersey is very committed to and a part of every year. And grateful for our guests today. They're going to help us showcase and share with you the excitement. For those of you that don't know, TIFF, as we call it for short, Teaneck International Film Festival, was started with the support of the nonprofit organization, the Puffin Foundation, and a small group of dedicated volunteers over 15 years ago. They wanted to create an event that would present a collection of compelling and imaginative feature-length films, documentaries, and shorts from a variety of cultures that would lead audiences to question, debate, and become caring, involved citizens who recognize the need to institute positive change. It is, we call it the film festival, really, that's just social justice at its core. And, as each year has been, this year is no different, just an amazing lineup of films for us to talk about. This year, the YW is proud to sponsor 2 films tomorrow, which we will be talking more about tomorrow. And the Rose McCoy film, which focuses on Rose's life and work as a singer, songwriter, and producer. With us today is Jeremy Lentz, who is the executive director of the Teaneck International Film Festival, and Arlene Corsano, who this is her film. So could not be more exciting to talk with both of them. Let me tell you a little bit about both of them. So in case you don't know, Jeremy, as I said, is the executive director of TIFF for over 14 years now. And under the direction, the film festival has been dubbed by a nationally recognized newspaper as the film festival with a social conscience. It is now considered to be one of the most prominent social justice film festivals in the nation. And we are so fortunate to have it right here nestled in Bergen County, so you can have easy access to participating. Jeremy has been recognized for his many contributions as an activist. He has been honored by the Bergen County Board of Commissioners, the Bergen County Executive, the Bergen County African American Advisory Committee during Black History Month. He has received commendations from the Lentz of Bergen County for their first community award, the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. We've given him the Racial Justice Award, and the Teaneck Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year Award. And in 2020, he was named a 5th Congressional District Hometown Hero by our, and newly elected again, Congressman Josh Gottheimer. When he is not leading and meeting with the TIFF team, he is an activist in the community for sure, including his work to honor the LGBTQ plus community, the One Town, One Vote campaign that resulted in moving the town council election to November, and speaking at the Pride service for Temple Emeth, where he is a member. He may also be found, with his, I don't know, is it a day job, night job, paying, other job? I know all of our hustles, I know, are front hustle, side hustle, weekend hustles now. Everything is changed and shifted, but he is the director of Lentz and Lentz at SAT Prep. So we also have Arlene with us. She was an educator for over 25 years, and she wrote and produced many musicals for children. Upon retiring, she began producing cabaret acts for grown-up entertainers. Her first show was Wild Women Don't Have the Blues, and that starred Maxine Brown and played throughout the New York metropolitan area and twice toured in Japan. She met songwriter Rosemarie McCoy during this time in her life and became fascinated with the songwriter's incredible ability as an entertainer. So she wrote a cabaret act for Rose and then co-produced a radio documentary for Public Radio International, and that was called Lady Writes the Blues. In addition to Rose's talent, Arlene wanted to write her biography about Rose, and just that called Thought We Were Writing the Blues, but they called it rock and roll. And it was published in 2014, just months before Rose's passing. Arlene continues to bring attention to Rose Marie McCoy's career as a singer and as a prolific songwriter by producing musical shows about her fabulous career. And many of them have been shown right here in Bergen County and in Manhattan. So excited to have you both here. Before we jump in and talk about Rose Marie McCoy, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about what's coming this year with TIFF. So excited that you're back, and really back this year in ways that we, kind of have been in transition. So it's so exciting. Tell us.
It's so good to be back. Thank you so much, Helen, and to the YW for the great intro and for all the support that you give to our organization. So TIFF is back pretty much in full capacity this year after 2 years, of a much smaller scale on the pandemic. We are kicking off our festival on November 13th, this coming weekend, and we are running through November 20th. The festival is going to be modeled on a hybrid platform, which means that starting on November 13th and running through the 15th, we will premiere virtually across the country. So all those films that we're showing can be viewed from the comfort of your own home, and they'll all feature talkbacks that'll be moderated with the filmmakers and writers of the specific films that we're showing in the virtual component. And then starting on Thursday, November 17th, we are opening in person at Teaneck Cinemas with a New Jersey premiere of a fascinating film called A Story of Bones about a Englewood resident who goes to an island in the middle of the Atlantic called St. Helena that happens to be an island where the largest traces of freed slaves are uncovered, the bones of over 10,000 freed slaves, and what happens as a result of that in terms of memorializing. So I would encourage everyone to come out for that. And then throughout that weekend, from Friday, November 18th and 19th and 20th, we'll be showcasing films live and in person at Teaneck Cinemas and back at Temple Emeth all day. So 20 films in 7 days. Tickets are on sale now at teaneckfilmfestival.org. As I mentioned, pretty much the vast majority of films all have the most incredible, engaging talkbacks with filmmakers, community leaders, activists, actors. So I would encourage you all to check it out and come on down and support us in our 17th year.
And I have to say, I mean, every year I feel like I say this, and every year I say it with, absolute honesty. It just seems to be getting better and better. I mean, what you've pulled together is amazing. The talkbacks, the panels, the discussions. There's so much to learn. There's so much to be engaged with. So we're so excited. And for those of you watching, we have the link here for you so you can connect and go check it all out yourself. Obviously, we're going to highlight and showcase, one conversation today, another one tomorrow for you. And so happy that we have Natalie McKenzie with us. You're one of our favorite people too, Natalie. So grateful that you're watching, and she's agreeing with me because it gets better and better every year for sure.
Yeah, Natalie's been a big supporter.
Yes. Well, it's not surprising that you have quite a fan club and that it's grown. And I will say, as difficult as the last 2 years were, I think what ended up being an opportunity is now you were able to make this film festival national and international, if you will, because I know, some of the ones that I was on, people, from over the pond, were watching too, that anyone can access it now with all the different, platforms that you've put in place so seamlessly, as you have, and such great opportunity for connection despite, doing some of the film festival virtually.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still a segment of people that aren't necessarily comfortable going back to in person, and for people that we've been able to bring in nationally and internationally, they're still able to participate. And what's great about our virtual platform is it is live and fully interactive, just as you would be in a regular movie theater, having the ability to discuss and comment on the films. You can do that in our OV, which is our virtual movie theater, because the chat is live, the talkbacks are live. So the audience is actually able to put their questions in the chat, and they get filtered to the moderators. So they're experiencing that in real time, just as they would be if they were in the theater. So yeah, I mean, the technology has been great. And as far as our mission with being a social justice film festival, trying to raise awareness on important issues of the day, having the ability to now reach a much greater audience than just, our regional area makes a huge difference. So we're grateful
Yeah.
for that.
Absolutely. But we're so excited to be back in person because
Yeah.
that
You need that
community of sitting
connection.
together in the
Totally.
theater and then, live watching these talkbacks, there's nothing like that for sure. So, Arlene, tell us, who is Rose Marie McCoy?
Well, she is one of the most prolific, diverse, successful songwriters that you never heard of. She lived in Teaneck for 57 years, came from Arkansas, very, very poor, tin top shack in Arkansas, and wanted to become a singer. And I met her through Maxine Brown. In fact, the show that I was doing, Maxine Brown, it was at a party there in 2001. And I didn't know who she was, but I knew she lived close to me. I'm in Bergenfield. She was in Teaneck, and she had hit her neighbor's car driving on the way over. She was 79 at the time and had gotten lost on top of that. And so I called Maxine up and said, what a beautiful party it was. It really, a lot of entertainers, music, and I said, let me pick up that nice old lady who is, I'm just about almost as old as she is now, but she was a nice old lady to me. And she said, oh, you should interview her. I was writing for the Suburbanite and I had retired already from teaching, and some small papers, and people started calling her up from that. And she kept inviting me to meet people. And I just, I was just shocked that people didn't know who she was, that she wasn't in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I had just come off doing, I think in 2001, I had written and directed produced really two, I wasn't the director, I was the producer of two documentaries on reparations. It was a big issue back then. And so I had gotten into, making, videos, and I thought it'd be good to make one about Rose, and it took this long to do. And I am not the producer of this. This was done by PCK Media and Susan Wallner. And she is the one who put it together, but I gave her all the information and even some of the video that she used. And I had met her because she did some publicity for NJTV, and I was doing a show. I guess it was at Puffin, because Puffin, what a great place. I mean, this and Jeremy, what you're doing is fabulous. I have seen such great shows that I would not have seen in the past, and they're just some of my favorite documentaries, because you get some really good stuff there. And so I found out, Rose kept inviting me and telling people, Arlena, she's never called me Arlene, she called me Arlena. Arlene is going to make me famous. And I met Ruth Brown, and I mean, a lot of big name stars and producers and people in the business through her, because she wanted me to meet them. And I heard such wonderful stories that I said, this is a book. but I did not want to write the book. That was a mistake. I Because I thought, writing a book, oh, that's going to take forever. That's boring. That's, but no one would do it. She had a friend who was uh, he wrote books about, for large publishing companies. And I said, why don't you do Rose? She's so unheard of, but yet, Elvis Presley, Sarah Vaughan, and they all did multiple, Nat King Cole, multiple of her songs, 850 songs. I said, who has that? And he said, and that's too hard. And I didn't know what he meant until I started to do it. But I talked to Rose just about every day to make sure she was okay. I saw her at least 4 times a week. A lot of times I would just go down, check on her when she wouldn't answer the doorbell. And I got to be around her so much. And I said, okay, I would interview her and put it on tape and sometimes video, and in order to give to somebody else. But she would do something my mother would do. She'd be talking about one person, like Mary Jones down the block, she got a new car. And then she's saying her husband died. And I'm saying, Mary Jones' husband, Mr. Jones died. She says, no, now I'm talking about somebody else. And Rose would do that too. So I had to interview her an awful lot. And they think that's a what. And sometimes she didn't want to. She wanted to go eat lunch instead of, I wanted to do, she just explained things so well. I wanted to make it an autobiography because of the way she spoke and put things together. She was a great lyricist, and she just wouldn't talk about certain things, like cover records, where a white artist would take a song that was big, a black artist was singing, and it was on the rhythm and blues charts, which what used to be called the race charts, and that wasn't played on major radio, so people don't know some of the top, black artists of the time. And so I had to put things in context at times. So that's why it's partly in my words, the history part, and partly, in her words, which is, so interesting. But she, I'm having a hard time getting her into, I've gotten her into the Smithsonian and the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame and Arkansas Jazz Hall of Fame and other places, but I can't get her into the Songwriters Hall of Fame based out of New York.
Yeah. And so what is that all about? Why has that been a challenge specifically?
Well, not a good story, but I'm going to say it, and I'm going to try to embarrass them, but it's not working yet. Well, they started in 1970. They had the first inducted people was, I think, about 70 people. Yeah, and Rose had a lot of top 10 hits already with Elvis and Nat King Cole and black artists also. But she didn't make it. In fact, they only had 2 females. One wasn't even a songwriter. She had written a poem, and then later, a couple of years later, somebody put it to music. And that's not what a songwriter is, because you're writing lyrics for a song, then you're a songwriter, even if you don't write the music. And Rose wrote music and lyrics. But a lot of her hits were from Ruth Brown, Nappy Brown, Big Maybelle, Big Joe Turner, and they weren't played on major radio stations in the 50s. So those hits, they probably didn't even know about. But maybe even more important is that she was independent. She thought writing, like Carole King wrote for Alden Music, and they put you in a little, as Rose would say, they put you in a little cubby. They tell you when to write, what to write, who to write it for. She says, that's like they own you. She says, it's like being in prison. She didn't sign up with, Motown or who would promote her. So she wasn't promoted. It was just herself. She was out there. There were things written about her, but she didn't promote her. And the Songwriters Hall of Fame has to sell tickets. and which could be $1,200. I read recently that maybe the last June when they had it, a good table right up front cost $50,000. Well, Rose had a couple songs with this and maybe 20 songs with that record producer. So, somebody like Atlantic Records, they can buy a table because that will promote them, but nobody needs to promote Rose because they don't own all of her. So I think that's maybe the bigger reason, though. It's amazing, 70 artists, and I think they were only maybe 3 Black men that made it out of 70. So it was a white man's, organization. And that's part of the reason. In fact, one of the latest musicals that I've written is with a singer-songwriter who's beautiful, just like Rose. And she plays Rose, and it's called Rose and Reparation, because part of the reparation would be let's see who she is. She's forgotten, and it's not just Rose. There's another male songwriter that she wrote with at times, and he has 2 songs in BMI's top 100 songs of the 20th century. He's not in. He's written 1,000 songs, Frank Sinatra, big hits, and he's not there either. But again, he didn't join up with one person. And just Al Bell, who one time was president of Motown Records Group, and also as a former owner of Stax Records, which was a big record company producer, he said, "I don't know of any other songwriter with the creds that Rose has. She's written so many songs for so many well-established artists. Sarah Vaughan did 6 songs, and
Amazing.
Jimmy Scott did 11, and it's amazing that she's been so overlooked." So I was thrilled when Susan Walner said she wanted to do this, but then COVID came, and that so that's why we only have 7 minutes.
I think, if I could interject, I think
Please.
one of the important things, Arlene, and what the short will do is hopefully, to start this campaign to get Rosemary recognized, to get her some more household name recognition, so that we can go back and get her into this Hall of Fame. And it's so interesting because when you kind of take a look at the list of artists who haven't necessarily gotten their dues, it's quite interesting. I know, even Diana Ross, while she's recognized as in the Supremes, she's not recognized as a solo artist, and never, I believe, received an actual Grammy award for, other than maybe an honorary Grammy. So, I think we're living in a time where things are shifting, things are changing, and doors are I think, opening to allow our history to recognize people that weren't recognized in the past. So I think the work that you've done, Arlene, in telling Rosemary's story is remarkable, and the amount of artists that she wrote for is just incredible. I mean, Ike and Tina Turner, Sarah Vaughan, Elvis, Frank Sinatra, and to have these people that have lived in our backyard, that are part of our own community and should be also memorialized and recognized. That's a thread that's going through this year's film festival, is that there's so many local artists, filmmakers that are being spotlighted, but there's also this thread of how we honor and memorialize our history and who tells our stories. So, this is a big part of that.
Yeah, and I have to say that the thing that is always so interesting about the film festival selections is the layers of learning that come with these stories, right? I mean, so if you're drawn to this story because of music, you're also going to learn all about all of the, this deep racism, these deep issues historically that our country is still battling with, but that are, we're at the core of, and still following this amazing talent, to her legacy is still being haunted, by this. So, there's so many layers to this story. And then that really is just a reminder why those of us who attend the Teaneck International Film Festival, it really becomes an opportunity for you to get engaged, in these issues, and connect to them in the ways that make sense, for you, and you get drawn to them by, your interests. But there's so many layers to this story, and so grateful, Arlene, that you have, obviously, really embraced the commitment, and what a longstanding one, to sharing it and seeing it through. And I agree with Jeremy. The hope is for sure that, by showcasing, your film here, is the start of really the the appropriate and additional pressure, to really get her due, for sure. Jeremy, how is it that you all go about kind of picking the selections? I know, tomorrow we'll be talking about another selection, from this year's film festival. I mean, this is so, and just thinking about, the ones, that some of the ones you noted at the onset of our broadcast here, they're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
They are all such different stories, and yet, as you said, there is a theme that connects them.
Yeah, we really try, and kudos to our screening committee, number one, because they get inundated with so many films that get submitted, and they're watching well over 100 films each year. And, the focus in what I try to tell them is each year we want to present new stories, because again, many of the themes are the same and can be repetitive, but we want to be able to present stories that tell things in a new way or shed light on a new topic that we haven't discussed. And a story like Rosemarie McCoy, there's so many different avenues of how things come to us. This particular film, I remember years back, Arlene, the Puffin Cultural Forum did that one woman show, the live show on Rosemarie McCoy. And there was a lot of interest in that. And that was the first time I had heard the name. And I was like, who is this woman that people are talking about that lived in Teaneck, that was this prolific songwriter? And then to find out one of our selection committee members had told us, there's a film out there, and I'm going to get you in touch with Arlene. And we saw the short and we're like, great, we want to show this. This is our local history. And, we're thrilled to be able to spotlight local stories, because that's a part of the community building and what we do. But as far as how we get, many of our other films, and after 17 years, we have a lot of contacts with various distributors that recommend films, filmmakers who have been making new films that always come back to us. And then we have film scouts that we're fortunate who go to various film festivals that kind of cherry pick what they feel are the best films that would connect to our audience and make recommendations to us. Because we're more of a niche festival in this social impact, social justice world, we're really looking for high quality content that is showcasing films that relate to the themes of our sponsor-based community organizations like the YWCA. So we try to curate and find the best films that work within the theme, and then our screening committee goes through them, rates the films, and then makes the recommendations for what they feel should be included on the panel. And, it would be great if TIFF could be a month. I don't know if we could support it, but there's so many films that are out there, and we really try to put in the best films and show films that are on topics that we haven't discussed year to year. So that keeps bringing people back, because they're stimulated and engaged and they're learning. And it's been my continuing education, in the sense that I would have never known half of these stories or half of the things that are going on in our nation, in our community, without having access to some incredible films.
Yeah, I have to say that the variety is tremendous. And to those of you watching, I just want to share a reminder that the Teaneck International Film Festival, like the YWCA, is a nonprofit organization. It really, it continues because of supporters from the community. And this is an organization and an event that you can support by volunteering your time, being part of the planning committee, by making donations to their budget, because again, this is how the magic happens, because of viewers like you. So we definitely want to make sure that you stay engaged and stay connected, because although the film festival is now, there are year-round opportunities to be connected to the work that they're doing. And it's definitely, again, has the opportunity for you to be entertained, but at the same time, be really, deeply engaged in important conversations and social change, social change and learning so much. So before we leave each other, Arlene, any last thoughts you want to share about your project and the film festival coming, and looking forward to, to that for sure.
Yeah, well, this it's a joy. I'm so happy that this is being shown in Teaneck. I'm hoping that a bigger, there's so much more there, and and so I hope people keep talking about it, because I know I have to say to Jeremy that I can't tell you. I think just about everything I've seen at the festival over the years, I learned something new, and then I would have to share it. So it's not just the people at the festival or that see them get acknowledged. It's other people too. The Central Park 5 just blew me away. That was so great. And the tap dancers, I'm now tap dancing too. That they were inspiration. That was one of the first I saw.
The Harlem,
That
the
90.
Harlem
Yeah, I said they can do that at 90.
the Silver Bells of Harlem. That was our first year. Ellen Round was executive director back then, but that was the very, very first year of TIFF. And you had, these women that were 80 plus years old coming out and tap dancing literally on Cedar Lane, and pulled up in like a 1920s car. But yeah, over 17 years ago.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Everything's fabulous.
Yeah, the Central Park 5. I mean, when we saw that doc, and just the story of the Central Park 5 is crazy, and how it kind of got resurrected during Trump's run for office, and his whole involvement in that case, from when it happened to their exoneration. But really important stories that shape America's narrative.
Well, there you have it, folks. So you want to get engaged with the important stories, make sure you click the link, see what's happening at TIFF. If you can't make it in person, there's plenty of amazing virtual opportunities, but we do encourage you to, make the time and come down to the theater or to the temple and be part of the excitement in person. Thank you both so much for joining us today and sharing about the festival and sharing about your story. I mean, it's so amazing always to me to know about the people that are just like nestled and tucked away in our community that we may or may not even know about. And so grateful to people like you, Arlene, who, take the time to share those stories, because they are not only something that we learn from, but such an inspiration, for sure. So folks, with that, again, we'll hope to see you around the film festival. It's starting this weekend. And please tell someone in your life about this broadcast, this conversation too. Share the story. You can be part of the magic for TIFF. And while you're at it, let's send some letters to the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And, let's get Ms. McCoy her due.
I did that. Thousands of signatures. I went to New York, 100 Black women up here, and my friends all over.
Yeah.
Didn't work. I don't know. Have to.
We're going to keep trying.
We'll keep at it
here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Arlene. Thank you, Helen. Appreciate
All right, everybody. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.